Hi everyone, and welcome to Talk, Teach and Learn, an Edtech podcast brought to you by Firefly Learning. Firefly is the trusted platform for whole school engagement, helping schools deliver a unified school experience. Firefly offers schools a way to provide a better experience for everyone through a simpler, more joined-up way for the whole school community to work together. If you're a teacher or school leader looking to learn more about how you can consistently use technology to improve your teaching and learning strategies and classroom management, you've come to the right place. Welcome to episode 7. I am your host, Rob Eastman from Firefly Learning. I've been with Firefly for about 8 years now, but I was previously a Director of Studies at a school here in the UK, and I've got a background teaching science and leading the use of IT in schools. I'm delighted to welcome along our guest today, Carl Moore. Carl is currently at Barley Lane School, based in Devon, in the southwest of England, lovely sunny Devon. That's where I grew up, so we may have to catch up afterwards about exactly what it's like down there. But Barley Lane is an SEMH special school setting with a community of around 120, and he's the Operational Behaviour and Wellbeing Lead. He's been at Barley Lane for about 17 years and has held various posts within education, including teaching assistant, HLTA, behaviour support lead, and instructor in positive behaviour support. Personal education and CPD for him is never done, and he's a lifelong learner, adopting an infinite mindset that allows him to strive for better rather than seek an end goal in order to be the best. When not teaching, Carl likes to head off into the big wide world and discover new places and people, and I think we could all relate to that, particularly with the weather where it is right now. Welcome along, Carl. It's great to have you along for this conversation. I'm going to jump straight in. And obviously, you know, you're in a particular kind of school, and so one of the things that might be more challenging for you, it might be less challenging for you. I don't know, but I mean, this concept of student motivation. How do you go about managing student motivation there at Barley Lane?
Well, it's a good question. I think first and foremost, it's about the adults and how we present ourselves and what relationships we have with each other. And that we model in front of the children, and also that we have with the children, because relationships are really, really important. You know, for me, there is no argument. It is adult behaviour first, and a certain deliberate botheredness and care about what you're bringing to your school community, in particular your lessons, and then helping children and young people to socialise, feel good about themselves and about their learning is really, really important. You know, we want to explain and coach and scaffold for young people what it is we want from them, what we want to see from them, what our expectations and our boundaries and our rituals, rhythms and routines are. And then within that, we need to be able to avoid picking up on the negative behaviours or behaviours we find challenging, and more instead celebrate and catch them being good at a task and reinforcing the positives in them doing the right thing. So essentially, what I have is a very good staff team which pick out the positives and see all the good stuff that goes on, no matter how small it might be, celebrate the good piece of work, see the kindness and the offer from child to child, young person to young person, and celebrate that and stick to the positives. So for me, it's all about catching them being good.
So from what I'm hearing there, it's a combination of modeling good behavior for them to be able to see amongst the adults, if you like, but then also focusing on that when the children are, I'd say it's positive reinforcement in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the children, young people aren't silly people. They're like sponges. They see, they hear everything. Talking in code shouldn't really exist in schools. I'm not a great believer of it at all. Talking in code is a no-go here, really, because honesty is a big part of it as well. So I'd like to be honest with each other and model, you know, adult modeling the behaviours we want to see is something that's just an everyday here. And sometimes I visit other places, you know, and I think, oh right, okay, if only you didn't say or did that in front of the children, that might be, you know, better in that situation. But yeah, for me, modelling is so powerful. And sometimes even what it looks like, not necessarily that coaching model of, hey, this is how I talk to Sarah or Miss, and I expect the same from you. So yeah, it's the coaching element of it as well. But I mean, I could talk for hours about that in itself. Um,
Yeah, but it is a thing that we children go to school to learn, and obviously they're learning their academic subjects, they're learning how to interact with each other, but also they're learning how to behave. And I think sometimes it's one of the things that maybe as educators or as education practitioners, that we sometimes forget that actually particularly as the kids get older, they're starting to stretch those boundaries a little bit. But they're doing it not necessarily to be difficult. They're doing it as part of their learning process, if you like, and that's something that we need to
Yeah,
work
I
on.
think it's really important to stress here that this is a safe place. A school is, yes, it's for learning. First and foremost, we're a school. We learn. There is teaching going on. There's learning going on all of the time. But there is a degree of social learning and behavioural development that needs to happen as well. And school needs to be a safe place for that to happen. So we can't just squash challenging situations. We can't just squash, emotions and the negatives. We need to explore them safely together. And that's very much what we have here in school. And I mean, it's not just a one person or a one department, it's across the whole school. Now, we've got, specialist teachers. We have some extremely talented, support members of staff where they are ELSA trained, emotion and logic trained, and then that training is disseminated across the whole team to give us all a collective vocabulary, if you see what I mean, and a platform foundation to support no matter where you are in the school, because we have a primary unit and we have a secondary unit. And the consistency must remain when they travel the journey through the school. So we invest heavily in each other, in-house best practice, but also national networking, local networking, to try and bring the best we can to the children, young people, our whole community. We're a school, but we're not just adults and children. We're a whole school community. We're here for each other.
So behavior, quite often when we use the term behavior, we're actually thinking about negative behavior, but actually let's just say behavior, positive and negative behavior. If you're wanting to reinforce positive behavior, if you're wanting to understand when to intervene, what sort of intervention you need to put in place, and obviously you need to be tracking the behavior of students, which always sounds a bit Orwellian in some respects, but actually it's tracking to learn and know what we as adults need to do and support them better. How easy do you find it to track behavior there?
So here at Barley Lane, we try not to, whilst there is a place for ePraise, for example, we try not to rely too heavily on one online platform or piece of technology or whatever it might be. Now, for ePraise, for example, we have, it's very visual and can give you very quick visual prompts both in the classroom as a teacher, but both from a senior leadership point of view, from me as well on a whole school basis. So I quite like actually the easy access parts of ePraise with regards to looking at the pie charts where we set our headings for what they are earning points for, and we can quite easily see at a glance whether one of those sections on an individual level or a whole school level needs tweaking, adjusting, or a little bit more attention to, in order to keep it moving in the right direction. It's no point in having a system or tracking trends of behaviour if, when you can identify an anomaly, you then don't put it right. But visually, what ePraise does for us and for me is able to show me quite quickly if there are any anomalies, and then I'm able to or get a group of people and steer the staff to and highlight that, if you see what I mean. But also we track things away from online platforms like ePraise as well. So it all works. There are different cogs to the machine, so to speak, and they all work together in giving us the bigger picture. But I think it's really important that we generate it, but also really important that we notice when it's not quite going well, so we can sort of adapt our practice and change and target the support, and just, for example, we have do you do things in a safe way is one of our points, and we also have did we manage our feelings, I was kind and respectful, I did the best in my learning. If I did the best in my learning starts to drop off. Now, interestingly, I had a quick check today, and that's sitting at slightly lower than the rest at whole school level. So part of my briefing tomorrow morning would be, hey guys, look, I've just noticed there's a percentage drop on the I did the best in my learning. Do we have a wider issue here at the moment? Do we need to refocus our chats in the morning? So there's a collective approach to how then we move forward. So I think that the data is really important, that it's not just lovely graphs and lovely colours. But equally, I don't rely on all that information. I'm on the ground, I'm talking to the staff, talking to the children, that I'm that visible, consistent figure every day. And that gives me a lot of data, but not necessarily, on paper, on charts. It gives me that in person, that relational, that that person to person data that I need. And sometimes people talk about, oh, you can feel the atmosphere today. It's those sorts of things I'm thinking about. That to me is data too. Where's that being driven from? Can I change that feeling? Is it a group of people? Is it staff? Is it children? Is it young people? Is it a combination of the moon cycle, for example, which is another talk and completely different? It could be another hour chat on the lunar cycle. But yeah, there's lots of ways that we get data, and really interestingly, it's a really strong point that I don't necessarily. I'm not the guy that does all the data. It's a collective thing. It doesn't just all come to me and I sort of disseminate it out to the many. Someone might turn around and say, "Hey, Cole, have you noticed?" And we listen. There's a flat structure.
Yeah, no, and I think you're absolutely right. It's the data is not a means to an end in itself. It's an indication of trends, and you respond to those trends. And we've talked about rewarding positive behaviour and reinforcing that positive behaviour. But what are the ways that you go about rewarding the good behaviour? What are the popular rewards that you have with your students?
So this is a really interesting question, because if I may start, ePraise is just one platform that we use to do rewards, but there's some interesting stuff which I'll come back to in a second, if I may. Of course, we reward with points under the headings that we have, and those headings are not just something we've conjured up. We've sat down as a staff and we've scrutinised and looked through educational health and care plans, and we've tied in the headings tie in with the vast majority of the educational health and care plans as they come through. So we're meeting the need there and getting them to reflect on what it is they need from their educational health and care plans to earn the points and rewards. There are so many microclimates of awesomeness that go on, and so much unseen work, from raffle tickets for extra mindfulness sessions, extra break times. We've got obviously the online shop is very, very powerful, and there's a common misconception, I believe, doing some research, that you can't bribe children, or you shouldn't be bribing children. That doesn't happen here, not at all. We're very disciplined. Yes, they can exchange points for material things, and we have lots of things, from footballs to rugby balls to Pokemon cards to remote control cars and headsets and all that sort of stuff. That's all well and good. That's lovely. But actually, I think the culture of a school and the climate in which you work is very, very important. Now, there's an interesting bit of research that I've done. I think it is a percentage-wise, we in the last 6 months, 32% of our student body have started to use ePraise to buy for loved ones and siblings and other people important in their lives. So it says quite a lot about the culture and the approach here. So we're not bribing children, for example. We're just on a journey, and ePraise helps with that journey. We have a secret but not so secret Friday club, where we enjoy a hot chocolate with myself, or some Pringles and a catch up for 20-30 minutes. And they're slids. The children and the members of staff can nominate awesomeness and superstars of the week, which then they get a little business card, with an invitation business card to come down to an area of the school and have a bit of a celebratory drink and catch up with myself and other people. That's still in its infancy, and it's a secret that not so secret anymore, but it gets people thinking we're not then just relying on the one system for rewarding children. There's lots of stuff that goes away and lots of intrinsic rewards as well that are becoming more popular. And I think also the little things, the little tokens, the phone calls home are so powerful. I think the star of the week, star of the day, a little piece of paper, a little note home, even a post-it note just dropped down on the side saying "Superstar, really appreciate that today," is going so much further than it used to. The school has been on a long journey, and again, that's probably another hour conversation in itself. But the online rewards is evolving, and it's evolved. So I brought it into the school initially because I did a bit of research, and more was needed. Something else was needed. There wasn't really much going on, and relational practice was in its infancy here as well. So I needed something at the time because everything was done by hand. Everyone was reporting points back by hand, and there was a team that were calculating things on a Thursday and Friday morning. Oh, if people earned the right to go on a reward trip today, are they going to get their £5 voucher at the end of the half term, and all those sorts of things? And it was just a little bit chaotic and a little bit labour intensive. So what the system allows you to do is collate that information for us, rather than having to sit down and do an enormous piece of work on an evening to work out whether people have actually earned the right to go out and do bits and bobs.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and I think we sometimes, if you like, overestimate the rewards that we need to give students, and I love the fact that what you're talking there are actually very simple rewards. I know another school we talked to, they have fish and chip Fridays is in the canteen, and the reward is simply you get to jump the queue for chips, and for your average 14-year-old boy, that's gold.
It's almost like we can start phasing it out, although it still has a purpose, and I'm sure we'll come on to that sort of stuff in a minute, because there's a lovely platform on why we continue to use the online platform, if you see what I mean.
So what impact has all of this had on, well, your students, obviously, but also on your teachers?
So again, part of our journey, and this happened before COVID, was that we identified some of the data that was being thrown up was quite obvious, that during movement up and down the corridors to subjects and crossovers, it wasn't going so well. So we moved to a primary model, and what I mean by that is, we don't treat them like, even in the secondary, we don't treat them like primary children, but we made the environment a safe place for them, and they created a safe base, a safe haven. And we got to the point where key sort of members of staff that were delivering core subjects, they did the movement, if you see what I mean. That threw up a bit of a problem in going, well, how do we then break one lesson if it's been a bit challenging and a bit difficult? How do we then move to the next session? So the idea here was that the teachers, I asked the teachers to think about using ePraise in a more structured way, in a consistent way, right across the school, where your plenary was the platform to head over to ePraise, get it visually up on the board, and then go through and start reflecting with the children and young people in that lesson. What went well? What might need some work on? Let's look at the headings and then start getting them to reflect on their behaviours, feelings with regards to how they presented with their behaviour, but not just behaviour, but how their learning went, for example, and how they contributed to the atmosphere in the room. Were they safe, for example? And getting them and using that as a break from one lesson to move into the next. So that's another area where the teachers are able to use a platform to build the foundation to, hey, something's not gone wrong right in this lesson, but we're back on task straight away. There's a fresh start, but they've not even moved anywhere, but they use the platform and ePraise to be able to transition to the next lesson. I think also it's a really powerful thing about the children and young people reflecting and identifying and taking, an ownership of their behaviours, an ownership of their learning and their feelings within the classroom, and not always Do they realise what they're contributing to the classroom, both positives and negatives? So it's a chance for us to big up the positives, but it's also a chance to draw their attention potentially to some of the behaviours that are making it feel a little bit uncomfortable for other people. But having those uncomfortable but necessary conversations in order to build self-esteem, in order to build the confidence to have those uncomfortable conversations and develop and move on. If that makes sense, to be fair. But resilience has improved, self-esteem, motivation, and I think the impact, the teachers, there are a lot of teaching tools on there as well. I know I go past and I see people and teachers using the seating plans, and when there are little squabbles about, oh, well, you sit there and I want to sit there, and hang on, we've got an agreed seating plan. We did that at the beginning of the year, and there's no real reason to move, and we'll bring it up. So that visual impact that is there as well. The timers, lots of people use the timers. There's an established routine here in school where we do, 10 to 15 minutes at least quiet reading a day. So the timers come up rather than having to find your timer in your drawer or call for, oh, have you got this? Or is the clock the right time? Has the battery stopped? It's all there. So I think there are lots and lots of benefits. And again, some of the more powerful stuff with regards to, the children and young people and the growing percentage of children and young people that are using their positive behaviour and their positive learning and choices, getting enough out of the little and often sort of you're a superstar, well done, and that big and that feeling good, and using the points that they earn then for other people in their community beyond school and in school as well. They'll nominate, and donations is I've really touched recently with donations. There is a growing number of children and young people saying, hey, look, it's non-school uniform next week for Friday with Child in Need, for example. I haven't got any money to bring in, but can I use some of my ePraise points to donate? And we'll find a way. I think it's really, really important that children and young people being able to reflect and think, hey, I can contribute in a way here, I can. And those things happen too. So I think there's lots and lots of powerful things here in school. And again, I could talk all night about it, but hopefully I've given you a bit of a sense of what goes on here.
So what I think one of the it's been a lovely conversation throughout, but I think one of the really lovely things that I hear is the fact that your kids are taking their rewards to then reward someone else and make someone else feel special, and I think that is such a positive message to take away from the school. But we always like to finish up with some top tips. So what would be your top tips, if you like, for boosting student motivation?
For boosting student motivation, I think, without going off on hours and hours worth of talking again, I think be kind, make a deliberate and consistent effort to see and celebrate the smallest of achievements and kindnesses. And don't miss the opportunity. There are so many things that happen during the day that I've seen in many schools and many environments for children and young people, and the opportunity is missed. You see the haircut the new haircut on the way in. The new school bag, the holding the door open for somebody else, the offer of would you like to come and play? Sir, can you join in? Play is so important too, but please make a deliberate and consistent effort to be happy, to join in, to be kind and see the small kindnesses in other people.
Do you know what? I think as a general mantra for life, that is not a bad start. And any man that's married knows, particularly the haircut, that if your wife has come home and she's had a haircut, if you don't notice it, then that is a world of hurt coming your way. But I think, I love the points you're making there. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's been fantastic chatting with you. I'm just keeping an eye on the time. We're approaching the top of the hour, but it's been lovely to hear the kind of stuff that you're doing there, and it really encouraging. I think the stories that you're telling about the way you're working so closely with the children, how you clearly, as a school, have a really deep focus on your children. But not because that's what you do in education, but actually because it feels like there's a genuine interest in the kids, and the kids have a genuine interest in each other and the community that they're part of. And I think, that the way that in itself is the motivating factor. So thank you so much for your time today, Carl. It's been fantastic having you along. It just leaves me to say thank you, everybody, for listening. That's it for today's podcast. We hope to hear from you or see you again sometime soon. But in the meantime, if you'd like to find out more about ePraise, for example, you can always visit the Firefly website, www.fireflylearning.com, and also keep an eye out for we have various ebooks and publications that are available for download. They're available on the website, which look specifically at tips and strategies and ideas that you can put in place for boosting student motivation. But in the meantime, thanks again, Carl, and thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay well, and we hope to hear from you again sometime soon. Take care.